Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. All right, we got that test down to the heart line like we were talking about. Put in a nice wick. Started to look like we were going to put in another one of these. And we were talking about if that candle closed back above this green support, we expected to move back up to at least 9,200, possibly consolidation, and then move to the top of the range. We did. We got the move up. We found resistance at that 9,200 horizontal blue line there. And you'll notice that we've been respecting this downward trending yellow line the entire time. And we finally broke through that after the initial failed test, and then we pulled up again, and it looked like we were getting ready to sell off when we put in that wick right there. But now here we are consolidating basically at that same level, but we've essentially moved outside of that descending resistance line. So we get a couple minutes till this one closes here. The midnight candle closes at about 2. So what I'm expecting to happen is it looks like it's going to close back inside of this, and then at that point in time it'll look like basically a fake breakout of that range, of that descending line, and then at that point in time we can retest the bottom of the range here again, and then again we're going to see if we close outside that and get the confirmed candle close outside that range. We would expect, like, sell off, start testing these ranges, and then same thing here. If we can get back above that blue line at 9,200 and consolidate, we would expect to move up to the top of the range here, and then potentially break out of the pattern itself. So, and it's important that we just keep this in mind. What's going on here? We've essentially been consolidating inside this pattern. This was our high for this entire run right here, and then we came in, we put in a new low, and now as long as we don't take out a previous high, all we're doing essentially is just putting in another lower high. So we put in that high, we put in a lower high, lower high, lower high, and here we are consolidating at the top of the range, getting ready to confirm this area as essentially, we might get that stab up to the top of the range and then the sell off, and it looks like this. You're consolidating. It looks like you're potentially going to move to the upside. You get that fake out breakout, and then you can't maintain prices, and it sells back off. The liquidity is used, essentially like price drops. Same thing right here. We fall into this cluster of resistance right here, potentially get picked back up. This is just a measured move. If you essentially take the pattern itself that we're inside of, basically, that's essentially what we're going for right there. It's not rocket science with these. It's not exact. It just gives you a rough idea. But I'd rather pay attention to like the horizontal supports like fibs, moving averages, etc. So, but that's us on the 4 hour. That's what we're paying attention to. You'll notice here now we're at the top of the range for potentially where like the blue and purple will be selling off. We're getting the sell signal on the daily, and now here we are, TJD, TDMACD. We got the histogram back above it. We've flipped it over blue. So now potentially if we stay on top long enough, we expect continuation to the upside, and then, possibly like powerful move like this. Typically, once that histogram gets back on top and you flip it over blue, it's just a matter of time before you get that big move. So at this point in time, I think 92.72 is a safe bet. I think we're going to come back down here, touch this range, potentially put in a wick, and then I think we're going to come back up to the top of the range. And then again, if that breakout fails, then we can get the move down, and we can use that like a little push up as the slingshot to get the actual move to the downside. But as far as I'm concerned, nothing has changed. We're still operating inside of this yellow channel. The next target is going to be the heart line again for the third time. We came down here to the heart line, came down here to the heart line. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't break out of this range and come back down here to the heart line and like that 89.50 roughly. But again, we have to keep in mind that we've been treating this green support as essentially like the floor this entire time. That's our entire time from back in May. So right now, that as a support is much stronger than this as a resistance, and it's exponentially much stronger than this as a resistance. So you'll see it was easy to float right out of that. Now this blue horizontal, it's easy for us to operate on top of it for this whole range. then we operate under it for this whole range, then we operate on top of it for this whole range. But you see we're just getting squeezed closer and closer to it, and now here we are back on the bottom, and all we're doing is just putting in a series of triangles and then breaking through. So we basically put like a descending triangle, and then we put like an ascending triangle. So now we break up to the upside here, and it's just a lower portion of that same triangle we've been operating in. We didn't break through anything long term, and we're essentially just consolidating inside that same range. And that's what you expect to happen for the longest period of time. And then finally, when no one's looking, no one's paying attention, that's when the breakout happens. And it usually happens in the opposite direction of what everyone's expecting. So right now, everyone is expecting it to go to the downside. I expect it to go to the upside, to the top of the range right here. And then we could potentially get like a fake out outside of this and like get enough action to push us down. Now it is possible the floor just drops out from under us and like, you know, it was just that distribution taking place. But at this point in time, you know, I'm looking for confirmation and continuation over wicks and consolidation, because that's what we've been getting. We've been getting wicks and then consolidation, wick, consolidation, wick, consolidation. It's like the same thing over and over again. I would rather see a range break and then see continuation, a range break and then see continuation, break, continuation. So if I'm going to see one of these things break right now, I'm looking for continuation on at least a 4-hour, if not like, you know, 12-hour daily, something longer time frame. But the fact is, at this point in time, indicators and oscillators are almost completely unreliable, because when you've been consolidating for this amount of time, everything is just going sideways and everything is just coiling up, waiting for that move. And then typically, whatever move happens, you know, if you're watching these charts on a daily basis or hourly basis or all day, you know, you're way ahead of the move. Like, you see the move happen and you're like, oh, I missed it, we broke out. And then like no one else has even noticed yet. I mean, I don't mean no one, but you know, the majority of people don't even see a move, you know, for hours, days, week, months, sometimes even. Sometimes the bull run's completely over before people start paying attention. So after this long of a consolidation pattern at the top of a range and potential like distribution, or we break to the upside and start taking out this, we start jumping over the creek and then, you know, break to the upside and get like the actual move continuation, which is potentially like a higher probability at this point in time. Everyone is extremely bearish on this asset. It's been consolidating the whole time while everything else pumped. So is it unrealistic to think that all of a sudden Bitcoin, you know, could break out to the upside and pump and do what it's supposed to do? I mean, fundamentally no, and also technically no. I think it's possible that, you know, everyone has gotten bearish at the absolute wrong time. You know, I'm not ruling it out. But, you know, everyone is comparing this to that breakdown from 6,000 again. And there's some similarities, but this isn't the same thing. This isn't a clearly defined descending triangle. We haven't been putting in a floor for like month after month after month on a flat bottom. You know, this is not the same thing. So I don't want people to get overly bearish right now and start dumping their cryptos because, you know, people have said this is the top and that's it. Like, you know, don't just believe what some guy tells you on the internet. So, but there we have it. Basically the breakdown. You know, it's like anything. We're waiting for something to happen. You know, it's been days, weeks, months, even years. You know, we're essentially just looking for a clear defined range break, and then we can make that move continuation and, you know, capitalize on the move accordingly. But at this point in time, I don't see anything new on the charts. You know, we're just basically oscillating inside of a smaller and smaller area. And eventually, you know, there's not going to be anywhere left to go. So we're either just going to flatline sideways or, you know, we'll have to get a break of the range. So, and right now, you know, it is saying that, you know, we could potentially get a little bit of movement to the upside. But once again, I don't think now's the time to get overly bullish or overly bearish. I think the most likely thing to happen is for us to continue oscillating inside this range. And like always, all these indicators are available for free on TradingView, as well as as well as my chart as well. Link is in the description. Crypto Trend Trader. And I'm out of here. So look for that oscillation. And I'm out of here.